Happy Tuesday, everybody. Okay, so I'm actually recording this a few days before, so I don't know. We may be snowed, we may be snowed under right now. I don't know. We may all be learning from home. I really have no idea what's going on, but we'll see. So today we are going to pick up with Unit 7. So we're starting Unit 7. Look how far we've come, guys. We've already learned 6 units, and we really only learned 9 units in Algebra 1. So we are getting so close. Unit 7 is going to fly by, guys. It's going to be like 1 week. And then, so next Monday, on Monday, we're going to test over Unit 7. It's a really short one. So we're going to look at some notes, and we're talking about how do we solve quadratic equations. So a reminder, progress reports come out this Friday. So this is the 6-week progress report. This is the big one. This is the one where if you're not passing all of your classes, you cannot participate in any UIL event. So make sure you get your grades in and everything turned in by this Friday at 3:30 because that's the big deadline. Okay, so let's go over to Canvas. You have your attendance check-in. Guys, I want to remind you about this. I say this, but I don't know if you all remember this. See these little arrows beside the unit modules? So like we're done with Unit 6 as long as you've taken the Unit 6 test. If you did not take it, you need to email me immediately because you have a 0 on Skyward for it. And we took 2 tests in Unit 6. So if you did not take both of them, send me an email. You're not going to be able to pass my class if you have 0s for those tests. So, but this is what I want to remind you about. The little arrow right here, click it, and it'll collapse the whole Unit 6. So you don't have to keep scrolling down. It makes your modules page really short and gives you less to scroll through. So here's a little overview of what we're going to learn at Unit 7 if you want to look at that. We're going to start off solving quadratic equations. It's pretty much the whole unit is solving quadratic equations. And we're also going to look at simplifying radicals tomorrow. So you need to click here. These are your journal slides for this unit. And I'm going to be doing this on my iPad. So again, your options are you need copy all of these and paste them into the orange journal that we were working out of that we set up in Unit 6. So let me go back to the modules page because if you didn't set that up, in Unit 6 we set up right here the 3rd quarter journal. And that's the one with the orange cover. So all of these slides today need to go into that same journal with the orange cover because we're still in the 3rd quarter. We'll be in the 3rd quarter until spring break. Then after spring break, we'll set up another one. Or you may just be copying the notes down in a spiral notebook. That's fine. If you're doing that, you do not have to copy these objectives down, but this is what we're going to learn. We're going to learn to solve quadratic equations, and then we're going to simplify radical expressions. And then we've actually already learned 12e literal equations, but it's just something else that comes back in that we have to use to solve quadratics. So your option is copy it down in a notebook, or if you want, you could come in and delete these text boxes that I've put in here, and you can print these pages out and write on them that way and just keep them in like a binder or something. That's what we're doing in class. I'm giving my students these printed out and we're keeping them in a binder. But this is everything you're going to need for this week. We'll go through this whole thing this week. So I'm going to pull it up on my iPad and then I'll show you, we'll get started with what's going to be next is this assignment down here. Okay, so I'm going to actually make this bigger. I'm going to turn my thing. It's going a little crazy here. Oh, wait a second. What's it doing? Okay, that's a little bit bigger. So here are your objectives, like I said. So we want to talk about how do you solve quadratics. So we're going to learn like 3 methods to solve quadratic equations. So the reason why we need new methods, I'm going to give you a couple of examples. You don't have to write this down, but you can if you want to. What if I gave you this equation right here? Equals, I don't know, let's do 10. I said solve that equation for x. Well, you guys would probably tell me draw a line, and then I need to add 2 to both sides first, right? So that cancels, and I'm left with 3x equals, well, 10 plus 2 is 12. And then you would say, oh, we'll divide by 3. Okay, so x equals, 4. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Easy peasy, solve that. Well, what if I gave you something like this and I said, okay, so now solve this equation. How are you going to solve that? Think about it. Okay, maybe those steps will work. We could add 1 to both sides. Okay, so I'm left with x squared and a minus 3x equals 0 plus 1 is 1. Wait a second. Can I combine x squared and the negative 3x term? Are those like terms? No, remember, because they don't have the same power. I can't combine. Okay, I could add 3x and move it to the other side, but then I still have, wait, that's not gonna, wait, this is not the same, right? These are different because they have this x squared piece and an x term. These are different. So we need new methods. We need a new method to solve these things. So I'm going to give you some new methods that are going to help us solve these. So the first method we're going to look at is how do you solve by factoring? So you know all that x and that box stuff that we just did in the last unit? This is why we actually learned to factor, because hey, it's a good way to solve quadratic equations. So remember, quadratic equations are set up as ax squared plus bx plus c. And because now we're solving equations, they're going to have an equal sign in them as well. So that's the word quadratics. So in order to solve by factoring, we use something called the zero product property, okay? So the zero product property says if two things are multiplied and it equals 0, then one of those has to be 0. For instance, what if I told you that I multiplied two numbers together, like any two numbers, and I got 0? Can you think of any way you can multiply two numbers without one of them being 0 and get 0? Now, I'm not adding here. Don't think like 6 and negative 6, because 6 times negative 6 is negative 36. If you were adding, yes, you could get 0, and neither one of those pieces are 0. But I'm talking about multiplying here. Hopefully you're thinking, I cannot think of a combination. You're right. So if I'm going to multiply two numbers, the only way I'm going to get 0 as an answer is if one of them is 0. So that's what the zero product property is saying. That's all that it's saying, actually, is that if you're going to multiply two things and get 0 as an answer, well, then one of them has to be 0. So here's the steps to use to solve by factoring. You have to make sure and move everything to one side and making sure the equation equals 0. So you have to set everything equal to 0. Then you would factor or rewrite the other side of the equation as two binomials, or two pieces. And then you would apply the zero product property. So we really want to just camp out here first and look at some examples where that's already been factored. So if you look at example 1, the original problem here is, this one would be, let's see, 2x squared. I'm going to do this in my brain really quick. And then plus 7x minus 4. This is the original problem. So what we've done in this example is I've given it to you, and if you were come over here and you were to use the x and the box like we just got doing in our test and do a times c and b in the bottom, you would come up with these two pieces on the outside of your box right here. X plus 4 and 2x minus 1 equals 0. So I've given it to you already in factored form. So because what we really want to practice is how, if we factor it, how do we use the zero product property? And guys, we're not going to spend a ton of time camping out on this. And there's one method that is like the easiest method and the best one to do. And so that's the one that we're really going to focus on. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is so easy. I promise you, by the end of the week, you're going to be like, I totally get this. So we're trying to figure out what x equals here. And so I'm going to give these to you already factored. So example 1 is already factored. So the zero product property says, hey, if I take this piece here, and then I multiply it times this piece, and my answer equals 0, then one of those pieces has to be 0. Either x plus 4 has to turn out to equal 0, or 2x minus 1 has to turn out to equal 0. So what you do is you take each part, and you set each one equal to 0. Oh, that makes two little equations that I know how to solve. So then you're going to end up solving two small little equations. Draw your line. Okay, so to solve this one for x, I would have to subtract 4 because it's added. The opposite is to subtract. So I see that x equals 0 plus negative 4 is negative 4. Use your calculator. Okay, so x equals negative 4. Then I come over here and I'm going to solve my second one. Okay, so I would start by adding 1. Okay. And then I'm left with 2x equals, well, 0 plus 1 is 1. And now I have this one, I have to do another piece. I have to divide by what's in front of x, which is 2. So x equals 1 over 2. I'm just going to leave it as 1/2. Oh, okay, so I'm getting 2 answers here. This usually happens. You can get up to 1 or 2 answers when you're solving these. And that all has to do with the fact that there's an x squared. So anytime you have an equation, if it has a power of 2 in it, you probably are going to get 2 answers most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time you'll get 2 what we call real solutions, real answers. And before we were solving things that just had a power of 1 on our x, so we were only getting 1 answer for x. But this time we are going to get 2 solutions. This is pretty normal for these quadratic equations, the ones that have the x squared in them. So that's it. Our solutions is x can equal -4 or x can equal 1/2. So what that means is if I go back up here and I take -4 and I plug it in for x up here, okay, well then I would have -4 in this piece instead of x plus 4 times 2 times -4 minus 1, and that whole thing is going to equal 0. It is a solution. Well, let's see. Oh, wait, -4 plus 4, yes, that equals 0. So now this is going to be 0 times whatever this number is, which I really don't even care. 2 times -4 is -8. Minus 1 would give me -9. Yeah, but 0 times any number is going to equal 0. It is a solution. I could do the same thing with 1/2. I can plug in 1/2, and it is also going to make this piece be equal to 0. So we would take our second piece over here. Well, then I would still have 0 times whatever 1/2 plus 4 is, and it would make my whole thing equal to 0. Okay, so that's what this is saying. There's 2 ways. I could have the x plus 4 could be equal to 0, and then that whole equation up there is going to be equal to 0. Or I can have the 2x minus 1 piece equal to 0. So that's why I took both pieces and I set them equal to 0. So let's do a couple more examples, because sometimes it's hard to wrap our brains around. What are we doing? So you're taking each piece and you're saying, okay, so 4x could equal 0. I'm going to set the first piece equal to 0, or x minus 2 could equal 0. If either one of those pieces, because those are the two pieces that I'm multiplying together, equals 0, then the whole equation is going to equal to 0. That's why we always want to start off by making our equation equal to 0. So then I draw a line. Now I've set up 2 tiny little equations that I can solve. Okay, well, 4x equals 0. Well, all I have to do is divide by whatever's in front of x here. Yes, so x equals 0 divided by 4 is still 0, but that's one of them. If x equals 0, then yes, this whole thing up here, because I would plug 0 in here. Well, 4 times 0 would be, that would make that whole piece 0 times, I don't even care what this piece comes out to be, because 0 times 0 minus 2 is going to be 0 because I'm multiplying by 0. Let's solve our other equation. So I have to start off, I'm going to add 2. I'm going to do the opposite. Remember, you always start with the term farthest away from our variable. So for us, what's farthest away from x? Well, -2 plus 2 is 0. Okay, so x equals 0 plus 2 is 2. Oh, or x could equal 2. Right, because if I plug 2 in right here for that x, 2 minus 2 is 0. So then I have 0 times, well, 4x, 4 times 2 is 8. Well, I don't care what that is really, because 0 times any number is going to equal 0. So this is why we actually are setting each piece equal to 0, because either one can equal 0, and it's going to be a solution. Let's try this one more time. Remember, you're just setting each piece equal to 0. So I see I have a 5 out front, so I have to set that piece equal to 0. Then I have an x plus 1. I have to set that equal to 0. Then I have a 6x plus 1, so I have to set that. So this one has 3 pieces, so I'm going to have to solve 3 little equations. Okay, I'm going to draw a line here, but I'm noticing with 5 equal to 0, that is a 5. Oh no, that's a terrible 5. What am I doing? Let me write a better 5. It's not much better. Okay, so I'm looking over here and I'm going, 5 equals 0. There's no x in this one. I don't have anything to solve. But I'm looking at that and going, wait, is that a true statement? Does the number 5 equal 0? No, I can't use this piece then. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you have a number out front and you set it equal to 0 and you go, is this true? No. If it's not true, throw it away. You don't even need that piece because that's not a true statement. We can't use that. So you literally are just going to ignore the 5 out front. But now up here, it was a 4 and an X. So we couldn't throw that piece away, right? We had to keep that and set that equals 0. We ended up getting X can equal 0, and that will be true. So if it has an X monomial piece with a variable X in it, you can't throw that out. But if it's just a number, you really are going to end up just throwing that out because 5 does not equal 0. Okay, let me solve my next one. So I have plus 1, so I'm going to do the opposite and subtract 1 on both sides. So x equals, well, 0 minus 1 is minus 1. So x could equal negative 1. I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to subtract 1 again because that's a positive 1. So now I'm left with 6x equals 0 minus 1 is minus 1. Okay, now I have one more step to do, which is divide by whatever's in front of x. So that would be 6. So x equals, negative 1 over 6. I'm going to leave it as a fraction. I'm not going to turn it into a decimal. There's my options. I could have x equals negative 1 or x equals negative 1/6. Because remember, we're going to end up getting 2 answers most of the time. Okay, that is it, guys. That's what I need you to do today. We're going to practice this now. This is how you solve quadratics by factoring. Now notice, remember, let me go back over here to the notes real quick. I've already given them to you already factored. Normally they give them to you and they look like this with the square term in it. And you would have to do the x in the box and factor it. But there's an easier way to solve these without having to use the x and the box. But I really want to practice, if you're given the equation in factored form, well, then go ahead and just set each piece equal to 0. It's a super quick way to solve and find your answers for solutions for x. Remember, we could plug those back in and it would be a true statement. So let's practice this using this assignment right here, imposter versus crewmate. So this is a thing that I have made. So what you're going to do is, I didn't do all the pictures, but I set the thing up and put our problems in here. It's kind of fun. So you're going to click on the activity to begin down here in this tab. If you want to make it larger, you can. You can come down here and click full screen. You do not want to go through the slides like this. It will mess it up and you're not going to be able to get out of the game here. So you want to make sure you have a piece of scratch paper, super important. So what you're going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and do full screen for us. You click here to get started, and it tells you there's an imposter. So this is Among Us. This is just like the game Among Us. So you have to find the imposter, keep it a secret. Whoever finishes the task first and accurately with the correct imposter wins. So in class, we'll see who's a winner. Unless we're all at home today, then we'll see who can submit it first, Jimmy. So you make sure you record all your work and answers on your scratch paper. Super, super, super important. So you click here to begin, and then there's actually like some music here too you can turn on. Click start. Let's see if the music gonna play. So you would have like your imposter music. And then you click this little guide to begin. Okay, so here's all of your rooms. So you can start in any room. It does not matter which order you work these in. It absolutely makes doesn't make any difference where you start. So like if maybe you want to start up here in the upper engine room. There's going to be a task. So you have to click. And the little, look how they change it to the finger. That's how I know I can click there. So you would click this task, and here's your problem. This happens to be question 9. You do not have to solve these in order. So what you're going to do is, I'm going to escape out of this. So we're on question 9. I'm going to bring this up. You would come down to, let me grab a new note here. Okay, so you would come over here. Let me make this smaller. Okay, and you would, on your scratch paper, you're going to write down question 9. So make sure you label it with the number 9. And we have 2x minus 5 and 3x minus 5 equals 0. So set each piece equal to 0. Remember, that's how we solve these. And then 3x minus 5 equals 0. I have to move this over. And then you're going to find your solutions here. So remember, we would draw our line. I'll go ahead and solve this one with you. And let's solve each of these little tiny equations that we created. I would add 5 to both sides. Okay. So I'm left with 2x equals, 0 plus 5 is 5. Guys, use your calculator. Don't tell me that's 0. And then I would have to divide by whatever's in front of x. So x equals 5 over 2. Okay, I'm going to leave it as the fraction. And then I'm coming over here and solve this one. So minus 5, so I'm going to plus 5 on both sides. So 3x equals 0 plus 5 is 5. Divide by 3. X equals, I'm going to leave it as the fraction, 5 over 3. So then I'm going to come over here. So I'm looking for 5 halves and 5 thirds. Y'all, what has Ms. Robinson done? I picked the one question that I apparently did not put the answers on here. Y'all, I am crazy. I have totally messed this up. And I don't know if y'all, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm going to fix this. So I'm glad I worked this problem. I'm going to go back through this thing and make sure all the answers are correct. But anyway, you would click on your answer. And if it's wrong, you would click anywhere and it's going to take you back to the problem. Now, I don't know where okay, so that was the correct answer, supposed to be. It's not the correct answer. The correct answer was not on there. But anyway, when you play this, when you get to question 9, I'll have the right answers on there. And I'll go check the other ones. Oh my God, y'all, I'm losing my mind. So notice it took me back, and that means you got it correct, okay? So go to another room. And you're just going to keep working problems. Now, there's not a bunch of problems on here. There's around 10, 11, 12, something like that. There's not that many, and they're pretty short, you notice. Click for the task, do the task in that room, and then this one does actually have the correct answer on it. You would work it out. Now, I'm glad I clicked on this one. I want to show you guys this one. I'm going to bring it up. See how it says x minus 10 squared? So what you need to notice is, so this was number 10, I think. Is that question number 10? No, this is number 5. So our problem is x minus 10 squared. Okay, what are you supposed to do with that? What are your two pieces? So remember, if you have something squared, it means to multiply it times itself twice. So you're actually solving the same equation twice. When we set each piece equal to 0, you're going to get the same answer. I think you're going to get 10. And so because you're going to have 10 and 10, you don't have to use it twice, okay? You can just click 110, which you should see. 10 will be your only option here. But if you click the wrong one, again, it'll tell you click the wrong answer, and then click the right one, and it'll take you back. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video and go through and check all these and make sure I actually have the answers on there for you guys. But play through this, but I'm going to be grading your work that you're submitting to me. So you're going to come down here at the end. You hit submit assignment, and you'll upload a picture of your work that you did on scratch paper. Okay, email me if you have questions.